Hey, what's up, guys? Today, this is part two of the Blast and Mix Set series, and in today's video, we're going to talk about CAV Blast. So, what you're seeing on your screen right now, this is my current CAV set. This is not optimal, but we're going to talk about why free-to-play players cannot really have optimal gear set for Blast, and why you should always focus your mix set first. And this is why when I use Blast, when I use CAV Blast, this is why it looks a little wonky. So first of all, we're gonna go and we're gonna look at the different pieces of gear that you guys should work on and the ones you should avoid. So first of all, I'll go to the cabinet and we're gonna go piece by piece. So basically, slot by slot. First of all, we're gonna look at the main hand. So there's a lot of things that you can do here, and we're gonna talk about non-champion. So first of all, you should always jewel your pieces of gear for mix first, and then when you're done, you should start working on blast. So this is why you're gonna have maybe some option for, you're gonna have some non-optimal piece of gear in your cav, in your range, and your infantry set until you're able to properly jewel them. So if we go in order, the best piece of gear in the main hand is non-champion would be the ENX. The thing is, it's really hard to level up with the Gorilla's Rage. So, and for Gorilla's Rage, you may be going for also the Accessory, which is, I think, something that I will suggest that you guys do. Is this what I did on this account? No, I did the ENX, even though I'm not using it right now. So ENX is the best one. Obviously, it's very, very, very hard to level up. The second one would be, I believe it might be the Orn Cudgel. The problem with the Orn Cudgel, I mean, it gives you cav attack and cav defense. So let's look at, might not be the best one. If we compare to Skull Crusher, Skull Crusher gives you, well, 28 attack and no defense, so Skull Crusher would not be better. And then Frostwing would also not be better because it's not even giving you good attack. So yeah, the second one would be the Orn Cudgel. The main problem with the Orn Cudgel would be the issue with the eyes. So the Gargantua eyes is something that if you are going to do the Orn Cudgel, that's just going to delay your belt, and the belt is the best in slot. So that's not really the best thing you should do. If you do this, you're going to have like blue and green and blue gear for a long time until you can get to a decent grade. The Nectar Orb is pretty good, but as you can see, cav attack and cav defense is not that great. Once again, the problem will be the Queen Venoms. And you want to save those for the Bumble Elm. So really, the really good option, really, if you're not going for ENX, my suggestion as a free-to-play player is to use one of your mix set gear, because remember, you're gonna jewel your mix set first. So if you have Skull Crusher completely jeweled, that means you're gonna have 28 army attack combined with 20% cav attack. Same thing here with the Frostwing Greatsword. You're gonna have 28% attack with an extra 20% cav attack. So that's 48 total. You compare that with a non-jewel Orn Cudgel, and that's basically a little bit better because 21% defense probably adds like the equivalent about 2% attack. So a fully jeweled Greatsword or Skull Crusher would beat a non-jewel Orn Cudgel. So that's why I would suggest that you try to go for the ENX, or you save your rares for the accessories, which I'm going to talk later. Or as a free-to-play, first of all, start with a mixed piece of gear with your completely jeweled with a cav attack. Next up, we're going to talk about the helmet. There's really only two options here. Once again, non-champion, Bumble Elm and Beast Elm. And as you can see, the Bumble Elm has better stats all around. So more HP, and for cav, so obviously 7% more HP when you're talking about a blast, and 7% more attack also. So the Bumble Elm is better. So that's why I don't suggest doing the Nectar Orb on the main end. So save your Queen Venoms for Bumble Elm. Beast Elm is not a bad option. It's just not as good. It's not as good as a mix set. It's not as good as a Cav Blast. It's really good for infantry. So still good to do, but not for Cav. Next up, there's really nothing. There's really nothing you guys should do. Let me let me mute that. I don't know if there's one piece of gear from this Serpent Elf, the Orca Mask. I would not suggest doing any of those newer monsters, especially anything that's not level 60. There's really no options, guys. Your helmet is gonna be the Bumble Elm. If you're doing it right, if you're doing it wrong, it's going to be Beast Elm. And if you're doing it very wrong, it's going to be anything else. So go for the Bumble Elm on there. Same thing with the armor. Once again, only non-champion. That's going to be Firewall Plate. 42% attack, 21% HP. There's really no alternative. Well, okay, that's not completely wrong. Once again, don't split your rares. Don't build the Ardent Carapace. It is definitely not as good as the Firewall Plate. Don't build. There's nothing here. There's nothing here, guys. Nothing. All right. There's one thing that is kind of good. The Predator Pauldron is good. Most people use it for the travel speed, but let's be honest, the stats for Cav are not that bad. So one thing that people do is they'll build their travel set, and even non-jeweled, or this, let's say at gold, is it better than the Firewall Plate at purple? I believe it is like kind of on par. We're talking 19% attack and 9% HP compared to the Pauldron being at 10% attack, 20% HP. So really, it's kind of about equal for a blast set, but usually in your Firewall Plate, you're gonna have a 20% or 12 or 20% Cav attack jewel. So once again, Firewall Plate is the best thing to do. There's really nothing else unless you build a Predator Pauldron, but it's subpar, so I would not go with this. Is there something at level 50 that I can 60 that I cannot do? No, there's really no other option. Firewall Plate, guys, is the best you can do. On the legs, there's two options. So the Gargantua belt is going to be the top tier, so it's going to provide you with the best stat outside of champion. The thing is, there may be a situation where you have Storm Tacet on your mix set and you have it jeweled. So Storm Tacet is not that bad. If you look at the stats difference, you get a little bit more Cav attack from the Gargantua belt. You get a lot more HP, and you get about a little bit less defense from the Gargantua belt, but defense is not that good. So remember, if you are fully jeweled with the Storm Tacet with a 20% attack, then it kind of becomes a thing that you could consider to have in your Cav Blast. But usually you're gonna have a pretty good time getting the Gargantua belt to a decent level, so that it's still better even if it's not jewel. You can always put a defense jewel in there. You could put a HP. You could put a two of the monster jewel, the Gargantua one as well as the Saber Fang one. Aside from that, there's really nothing else. Please, same thing. The Untamed boots are not that bad. The thing is, I think you need to have like 2 levels to be better, two grades to be better than the Gargantua belt. The belt is just that good. So that's why I'm suggesting to save your eyes, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the accessories. Next up is going to be the offense. In the offense section, what we're going to be looking at is, the thing is, okay, so people are going to talk about the Eternal Codex because of the Cav attack and the Cav HP, but if you look at this, the top tier is going to be the Lunar Boomerang, hands down. It's the best piece of gear, but it's really hard to get. So usually people will have a pretty decent Eternal Codex that they can use, or they're gonna have the Dragon's Fist. The big difference, guys, look at this: 30% attack and 28% HP. And if you look at the Codex, 28. So definitely the Dragon's Fist is better. And the other thing about that is this one takes 8, and the skulls are really hard to get. And the Dragon's Fist is like 3. It's 2, so it's really easy to level up. It's a pretty good piece of gear. Lots of people have this in their mix set. So definitely, there's really like 3 options. Spirit Axe is not bad. In fact, Spirit Axe is pretty good, but once again, it's really hard to level up. So Spirit Axe, very hard to level up from the Necrosis. You need 15 and really hard to get those drops. Lunar Boomerang is a little bit easier because it only needs 7, but still very hard to level up. So basically, guys, the options are the Dragon's Fist or the Lunar Boomerang. Lots of people, though, will have the Winter Mitts, and remember, you may not have any CAV-specific attack in there, but if you add a 20% CAV attack jewel in there from your mitts, from your mix set, we're talking about 20% attack, 35% defense, and 35% HP. This is pretty good. This, with a 20% CAV attack jewel, is definitely better than the Dragon's Fist. Because you're only gaining 10% attack from the Dragon's Fist, and you're losing about, well, is it definitely better? It's probably about equal. So using the Winter Mitts until you are able to properly jewel another piece of gear, which in this case for me would be probably not the Lunar Boomerang, because I went for the armor and I did not go for the Dragon's Fist. Probably for me would be eventually like an Eternal Codex. In that piece of gear. Aside from that, there's really nothing I could do. I don't think, did I do this one? I don't recall if I started to work. Yeah, I started working on this one. As you can see, it's green. So it's not that great. Definitely doing Blast is really hard for you to play. But anything else is a bad investment in rares. And finally, we're gonna get to the accessories. So there are some pretty good accessories. There are some pretty bad accessories. So the first one, please don't use cups for this, because even if it's jewel, you're only gonna have 20% attack from a fully mixed set kind of a cup where you have 1 attack jewel of each. There's really like Rowdy Resolve is the best. So it is the best piece of gear I believe you can get, or is it the Polar Ring? Maybe Polar Ring might be better than this. Should be at the bottom because So it would give me 35 and 21% HP. I believe this is better. Let's go look real quick. Is it there? 35 and yes. The Polar Ring would be the best one to have. The Rowdy Resolve would be the second best one to have. After that, I believe it's the Book of the Dead. Yes, it would be the Book of the Dead with 35% attack with defense. Defense is not that great, but still. And finally, in 4th place would be a Fear Drum with 22% attack and 7% HP. My suggestion, guys, only build 1 Fear Drum and then use a combination of everything else for the rest. The Polar Ring was going to be really hard to level up. They've started adding those to the bargain store, so hopefully it's going to be easier to do in the future, but it's still very hard to do. Another option, like I said, going with the Rowdy Resolve or the Book of the Dead as a 2nd and 3rd accessory is also a good thing to do. And people also forget that sometimes we have a Blight Ring in our mix set. So with the Blight Ring having, let's say this, I would have 20% attack from the jewel that I have in my mix set with 21% defense and 21% HP, which would put it pretty good compared to a non-jewel piece of gear that I have a harder time to level up. So this is why when you look at my mix, not my mix set, but my CAV Blast set, I have pieces of gear from my mix set that I'm using there because they provide me better stats than using So this is why I have Skull Crusher. This is why I have Winter Mitts. This is why I have the Blight Ring. This is not fully jeweled because I am still not done with my mix set at 4.5 years. As you can see, I'm still missing one jewel that I want to replace. This one here, the Gargantua jewel, I want to replace it with a proper attack jewel. So when this is done, this is when I will start working properly on a CAV set on this account. Two drums is going to be fine. I'm saving my my eyes to get the belt to gold and then to mythic. As you can see, I'm still somewhat far with 2.5 gold to go until I get this to gold. I will most likely not work on those drums. Now, as far as other pieces of gear that I'm working on, as you can see, there's really nothing. I got a third one drum that I could do, which I'm not planning on doing. And I started working on a polar ring. I have not worked on a Book of the Dead. I have not worked on a Rowdy Resolve because I've started doing something else. Might not be most efficient, but on this account, I'm being a CAV Blast is not what I'm looking for on this account. This is only for Trial by Fire and Guild Showdown. I have another account for CAV Blast. Always prioritize your mix set first, guys. It's way more important. Now, okay, we've talked about the gear, and let's talk about the hero. So, guys, there might be a hot topic over there, hot take. What's the best CAV hero? Well, lots of people will say it's Rose Knight. Well, it's not. The best CAV hero is actually Child of Light because it provides 30% attack and 50% HP, which is slightly better than Rose Knight, which only provides 20% CAV attack. Remember that when you're sending a blast, the army attack, right? It's 20% to about 99% of troop you're going to send is CAV, so it's going to really be 20% CAV attack and 50% HP. The third one I believe is Night Raven with 30% attack and 50% defense, which, guys, Night Raven is actually better than Chaos Dragon. Chaos Dragon gives 25% attack and 30% defense. And lastly, well, not lastly, and then in 5th place would be, what's his name? Death Knight would be in 5th place. It's 50% HP and 50% defense. Probably equal to Chaos Dragon in that case. Definitely, Chaos Dragon is very, very overrated, guys. And then lastly, as far as a CAV hero, you should never send Sage of Storm because the defense is not good. It really, to me, 50% defense is about 5% attack, so it's really, really low in priority. Anyway, you don't really want to send 5 heroes. You want to send 4 CAV heroes, and then the next best hero that you can send. And in that case, that fifth best hero would be most likely be this guy, Watcher, if you have him to gold, with 20% attack and 25% HP. So basically, guys, you would go and set up, let's say, set up a darkness, which I'm not just gonna set it up for you guys. But basically, what I would send is, in that case, my leader is Watcher, and then because it provides one of the best stats all around, it's good for any type of march. And like I said, I would go in order. That would be this guy, so Child of Light. I would then send Rose Knight. Next up, I would send this guy. I still think it's a toss-up between Death Knight and Chaos Dragon, but I would, let's say, send Chaos Dragon because I have him unlocked. I could also do some tests, some camp testing to see what would be the difference between those two guys in a march. I would send this. Like I said, if you don't have Watcher, guys, a good thing you could do is send, let's say, this guy as your leader. Obviously, you'd send your leader, so it provides 20% attack. But never. So usually most people will have a free-to-play comp and they'll send something like this. And so now you have a choice as the 5th hero. So people, the choice between 50% defense and 20% attack? The answer is 20% attack all the way. So if you don't have the special heroes unlocked, you should go like this. If you have Watcher, then Watcher would be the best. And if you have Chaos Dragon, then like I said, it's a toss-up between Death Knight and Chaos Dragon. But I would still send it because it took so long to unlock him. As far as familiars, guys, I don't have all the familiars, but basically in a blast, you want to have one of the stacking familiar. It's not really stacking, but it gives 200% for 10 seconds from Griffin. You need to unlock also the stacking one. So this guy, the Goblin with the booby prize, the stacking ones are really important on a blast. And next up would be something like this guy with 10%, 10% attack. Now, lots of people, if they follow my guide for mix, they will probably do this one very, very late in their process. A good thing to do is use this guy, because since I think it's one of the first one you should unlock for mixed, it is still good for CAV Blast as well as all the other blasts. So in the beginning, I think that this is a pretty good setup when you have only 3 familiars that you can send. You're gonna have, like I said, you're gonna prioritize your yellow orbs on this guy because that's the only one you can unlock for a long time. You're gonna prioritize your orbs on this guy and this guy. So let's say you don't have any of the stacking, but you've started with these guys. This is not a bad setup. Once you've unlocked the Goblin and got him to a decent level, I would take this out, put Goblin. And when you've gotten this guy with Abominable Strike to level 10 and not before, that's where I would remove Artie Feast and put this guy. Now, another great familiar you can get, and at this point, you're really looking for you're really looking for kind of end game, because you're gonna have unlock a bunch of familiars. The last one you want to unlock, or Nosferos, is really good also for this. But you still need to get him to a decent level, at least level 5 or 6 or even 7 for this to be worth it. Because at level 1, 6% and 6 HP for 1.5 seconds, this is nothing. This is like, this is a blink of an eye. This is not worth it. But once you get to level 6, 7, where it's about 10 seconds, this is where it starts to add some value. 15 seconds is actually like 40% of the battle. So it's pretty good. That would be the order where I would send my familiars. I'm not a big fan of some of the other. I know some people will do the Drider because they're pretty good for every type of blast. It's not a bad thing to do. And finally, guys, and it's the same thing with, I think Tempestite does about the same thing. Yeah, it's a stun for at 10%. So although this is also not that bad. And finally, if you ever get to the pack 5, guys, I would suggest you go for 1 and don't try to level up several at the same time. And when I say level up, I mean the army talent. You can definitely get them to Elder and then get the skills, but I'm really talking about investing those bright yellow orbs in one familiars, not several. So there's really, if you're free to play, there's really 3 that you want, and you need to choose 1 out of those 3. So you're gonna take one that can also be used on your wall on a mix. So basically you want one that procs at 4%, not the ones that proc at 8%, because you're pretty much guaranteed that at 4%, you're pretty much guaranteed that they're gonna be activated and every time you get rallied. But the 8%, there's a very good chance if you have too much troop, they're not gonna unlock. And if they proc at the end of the battle, you may not get all the 5th. You may not get all this the 5 times. So even though this is up to what, this is 750. Let's say what's this guy, Gargantua, with 600 at one time, definitely will proc. You're definitely gonna have use of him. Once again, so it's either going to be Gargantua, Blackwing, and Bon Appetit. Obviously, if you want to focus on Cav, you're going to want to do it with Gargantua, which on this account, I'm going for range, so I'm going to go with Blackwing. This is why I have a bunch of runes. I'm focusing on this one. But if you are focused on Cav, you would want to unlock Gargantua. And it's obviously a pretty good offensive and defensive one, just because it procs at 4%. If you send an attack, it's gonna proc every time. If you get attack, get rallied, so it's a very strong chance that it's gonna activate. Like I said, anything at 8 or 10%, there's a very good chance it's not gonna activate. For me, at 33 million troops, basically 10% is 3 million troops. So if I get hit by it and I lose 3 million troops, it's not a good thing for me, and it's gonna activate at the end of the rally, so it's not really gonna do much. The one at 4%, it's gonna activate when I lose 1.2 million troops, which is pretty good. So guys, that's basically it for this video. This is basically my suggestion for CAV Blast. As you can see, it does not have to be optimal when you're free to play, but I've given you basically a notion of what is good and what is bad. Anything else, be careful. Don't spend too many rares on level 50 piece of gear like these. At the end of the day, they're not the best ones, as I've shown. Really easy to get. Obviously, they're really only good for CAV Blast, but you can still get a decent CAV Blast set by using pieces of gear from your mix set as well as the jewels. So you can still have a decent time with Darkness as well as Guild Showdown. Alright guys, that's about it. Let me know in the comments below what you're doing. Are you free to play? Are you pay to play? Are you focusing Blast set first, or are you focusing your mix set? If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.